Hello, you join me inside the new-ish BMW M5. I say new-ish, we've featured it on video before. You may remember it from such videos as BMW M5 drag racing against XXX. If you subscribed, you would never miss an M5 video again. And there may be more. But anyway, what is it? It is a 5 Series with the tweaked up M division suspension, chassis, body, steering, handling, transmission, etc, etc, etc. I spent quite a lot of time in it. I like it a lot, but it is quite a wide car. Is it the ideal size for a super saloon? I'm not sure. It's nearly 2 tons. It's nearly 2 meters wide. I think the sport saloon comes into its own at sort of Alpha Julia size, but BMW is asking this car to do a lot, and it is succeeding in doing a lot. It is as easy to drive as a BMW 520d, so it's basically a luxury car. And yet it is also a sports saloon. So there are things that assist with that, such as a carbon fibre roof to lower the centre of gravity. It has multi-adjustable things I can change on here. So the engine response, the transmission response, the suspension stiffness, the steering setup. It's baffling. It is 4-wheel drive as a rule, but there are functions on the steering wheel that I can preset to various other configurations of all of these settings, including a rear-wheel drive mode, which in the right circumstances is quite good fun. So the big headline statistic on the engine is that it is making around about 600 horsepower and over 500 foot-pounds of torque. So it is an easy car to waft along at very rapid pace in. It's a good motorway car. It's an easy cruiser. There's loads of overtaking urge, and if you get it on the right road, a big open sweeping road, it's also enjoyable to drive briskly. For its size and for its weight, it is an agile car. It's not agile in the grand scheme of things, but given what it is being asked to do, it is seriously, seriously impressive. This one has got optional carbon ceramic brakes, which stand up to track use brilliantly. They do cost £7 grand, and if you don't use them hard a lot, they take on a terrible, terrible squeak as the pads get glazed. It's a weird thing that happens to carbon ceramic discs. So if you have carbon ceramics, you have the perfect excuse that you must stand on them from a high speed regularly. Body control is really tight. The ride quality, takes a bit of a hit, but that's inevitable. It's still pretty tightly controlled. It's actually really seriously, seriously good fun to drive like this. So BMW does this car very well. If you are asking a big car to do 2 things, and it is asking a big car to be an executive car 1 minute and a sports saloon the next, there are not many cars on the planet that do it better. But BMW is not the only manufacturer which tries to make a 5 Series do the sports saloon thing, because there is Alpina, another German-based manufacturer. It's completely independent of BMW, but it has long had a relationship with BMW because BMW makes a bit of money out of Alpina's existence too, and I think just because somehow the 2 families that own the 2 respective companies get along. There is no shared ownership, but BMW makes a bit of money out of supplying Alpina with cars, and it gives them early access to engineering vehicles and the right drawings and so on and so forth, so that when a BMW M car arrives, there tends to be an Alpina variant of it too. They tend to do different things. Alpinas are a little bit more laid back, a little bit more chilled, as befits a company that deals in a lot of fine wines, I think. Whereas the M division car is a little bit more focused and a little bit more hardcore. Over the years, quite often we've preferred the Alpina to the BMW variant. But of course, Alpinas are so rare that you would never see one by coincidence on hang on a minute. Welcome to the inside then of the surprise Alpina B5. How did this get here? Who knows? Anyway, the first thing you might notice is that I've got a different gear lever. That's because this is based on a 5 Series rather than an M5. The next thing is the luxuriousness of the leather, because Alpina, when it comes to re-trimming interiors, will do anything pretty much that you want, but they have a really nice range of stitched interiors that even stretches to the steering wheel. So I get green stitching here. There's no cross stitching because the original Alpina owner didn't like the fact that cross stitching really hurt your thumbs. And then blue at the top, and round where your thumbs sit so it doesn't discolour, it is black. Clever, eh? Anyway, that's the short of it. Let's see what it is like once you fire it up. And so we're underway. Now, because we are in a car based on the regular 5 Series rather than the M5, as well as having a different gear lever, I've got different options down here. So I've got the usual BMW buttons that put you in Sport, Comfort, Eco, Pro or Adaptive. So there's a lot of settings, Standard Plus or Individual. That knocks the dampers back in the setup that it's got at the moment. It knocks the dampers back, it keeps the steering weight light. I'm not convinced the ride on the Alpina is any better than the M5 on a back road. Alpina used to use bespoke tyres, they wouldn't use run flats, and despite those big Alpina rims, the ride was usually more compliant than an M car. I think it is on a motorway today, but on a back road, I think the Alpina rides no better than the BMW. But it is still, I'm not going to fib to you, it is still a comfortable car. So like the M5, it uses a 4.4 litre V8 with 2 turbochargers. Alpina develops and fits its own turbochargers, so they're different to the M5s. And the resultant output is 600 round old-fashioned horsepower, but it's the torque that's the big difference. The BMW official M5 makes 553 pounds-foot. The Alpina version makes a whopping 589. That's 800 newton meters of torque from 3,000 to 5,000 RPM. So it is a very torquey engine. Alpina says it could, if it really wanted to, still stick that through the rear wheels only, but it has decided that most customers, given this torque output, will want 4-wheel drive. But again, it has tuned it itself. So it puts more power to the rear more often. It has an 8-speed ZF automatic gearbox, but Alpina does some work on that too. So how does it drive? Well, it feels like there's a little bit more heft to most things than in the M5. It's certainly as quick, no doubt about that. These are both sort of 3.5 second to 62 mile an hour cars. They both have a top speed that would run up nearly 200 if you let it. From a performance perspective, they are both mighty, mighty pieces of kit. This Alpina comes in at 2,015 kilos. Now I know that 85 kilograms more doesn't sound like a lot, and it's only the same difference as having a large passenger in it, but it does make a difference to the way these cars feel. The Alpina just feels that little bit less agile, that little bit less nimble. I mean, neither of them is a Caterham 7, frankly, but the M has a greater willingness to change direction. But this is good. This is entertaining. It hangs on gamely. And although there are mid-corner bumps and things, it doesn't get unsettled. It's a very capable, very amusing, very relaxing car. It's about on the money as well. Standard is about 90 grand. This one is optioned up to around about 102, which is not dissimilar to that M5. They're both expensive these days. If you're after the better sports saloon, then I think the M car is the choice. It is more nimble, it is more dynamic, it is more agile. If you want the better fast luxury saloon though, the Alpina is far from without its merits, and I think it is the better car for long-distance motorway work. There is a pretty strong argument then that Alpina understands, perhaps better than BMW, what a large, fast saloon should be. And long may that continue. If you like this kind of nonsense, don't forget to subscribe. We're here on video very often, and we're at autocar.co.uk all the time.